And reminder to everybody that this is being digitally recorded, so be respectful in your comments and listening to each other. Is there anyone here for open session? Okay. We normally would go to Katie now, but we'll skip that for the moment. I would request a motion of unanimous consent for the agenda, the minutes of July 11th. We were all here. That was a question. And the appointments as stated, just Susie Guinan to Affordable Housing Committee, Elizabeth Tellis, Board of Health. Wage authorizations for Robert Lanciani, our Building Commissioner, Nancy Perrone, Land Use Coordinator, Robert Champagne, Part-Time Police Officer. Are there any holds on any of those? Then I would ask for a motion of unanimous consent.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion for unanimous consent to approve the minutes and consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes. So moved. Thank you. We're gonna move up the old business before we tackle any of the new business so that we can do the CPA thing and get them in and out of here tonight. So we look at item number 1 under old business, the select board to vote to sign the CPA agreement with the Evangelical Congregational Church that was voted on at special town meeting October 19th, 2021.
In the preservation restriction as well.
Oh yeah, excuse me, right, and the preservation restriction as well.
Right. So this came back to light. It was, from what I understand, there was a January 5th, January 10th Board of Selectmen meeting that this was discussed at, and for some reason, the meeting wasn't recorded, so the minutes were never done, and so we have nothing to prove that it was ever approved before or anything, so, Sanda has worked diligently to get these documents, back in an order that, for you to sign tonight, along with working with KP Law to make sure we had all the T's crossed and I's dotted, and so she has the document tonight, for both the grant agreement, which had been voted on at a special town meeting, October 19th of 21. We gave the CPA through that grant agreement, $100,000 for the siding to be replaced on the Evangelical Congregational Church, and the siding arrived last week, and they are very anxious to get going, so we need to get these agreements signed
Because the
and
agreement
recorded.
also said they would get some money before,
They will get
beginning.
half of the
Yeah.
money up front to pay for the siding, so yes, that is why we have to get these
so
taken
we've already
care of.
agreed to this, it's just a matter of now getting it on the record. So, Sandy, you
That's
wanna offer anything?
No, that's exactly true. We did have a meeting January 10th. It was a long meeting. We went over all the documentation because we'd met with you prior. And then we went back to the church, and then we came back with the final draft. We had sent David the final draft, and then I met with David and gave him a hard copy. And our thinking was we were done for CPA. We finally got it finalized. And then it came up just recently that the guy wants to start the signing, and we're like, oh, this document never got signed. So that's just, we're just following through with that.
Okay.
So,
Yes, and the one piece of the puzzle that was missing was a certified copy of the vote, and I have that here, our town clerk, provided that, so I have that to go with it,
Okay.
so we should be good.
Mr.
yeah,
Chairman,
you have the document, I
I have the documents right here, yes.
Okay,
Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, would you entertain a motion?
do we need a motion to vote on this?
You do.
Yes, I will, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to sign the CPA agreement and preservation restriction with the Evangelical Congregational Church that was voted on at special town meeting on October 19th, 2021.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion, any questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. So moved. Do we need to sign it?
She has,
I have the, yeah,
And is this something we're all signing or just me?
Yes,
Okay,
no,
okay.
everybody is signing all of, yeah, there's
Two?
page, there are two different agreements, so.
Okay, back on both?
I'm sorry, let me find the right page.
It's almost at the end, Katie, it's one of the last pages.
Right, there you go.
Oh, this is a problem, this has the old,
Oh,
That one does.
yep,
This one's fine, right?
One of them's fine though. The grant, great.
the grant, the preservation restriction. We still have 3 members that can sign it, so it'll be
Sure.
legal,
Does it have the old names?
but there's 3 of you that.
Yeah. Can you just cross out Dan Galant and put
Print.
Heather? I think it's the one that's
Print
missing.
neatly under it, that would be okay.
There's, yeah, Dan's on here,
Yeah, I
Heather is
replaced
not,
Dan, so.
and Peter's not.
Okay,
But Peter was not involved in the original
True.
I
vote,
was.
That would
so I
give
don't
us-
know if he wants to.
we have enough for a quorum, if that's all you need. 3 of us out of 5.
I'm gonna say,
Is that okay?
yeah.
yeah.
Alright,
All right, so thank you very much. You'll get that to, get notarized for tomorrow
That'll be
when Mary
notarized
comes in
tomorrow.
and everything?
This goes to
Yep,
Chris.
and the historical commission, they called today to see if
You
it
wanna
was
sign
just the
this
chair
thing?
or
My name
all
on it?
of them, so we
It's on
did
it,
let
but
them
you know
know
what
that
it
they
says.
all had to.
Yeah,
Oh,
or the
that's fine.
form.
Oh,
You wanna read it for us?
I already read
At the
everything.
end of the line,
It should be in
it's
here, right?
Carolyn
Is
has
this-
that recorded
Yeah.
Did you
for
send this in our file today?
Yeah.
I read everything today.
Once
No, you
the
just need
restriction
to-
and one
Yeah.
No
is the
questions asked,
vacant.
and pass
She said
that.
she could
Yeah.
file it for us.
And we
Okay.
move this
So
So it
up
goes
so
back
that
to
she can
Carolyn to
get it.
record
Yeah,
it.
She can record it or they said Mary can record it.
Yeah.
Either way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
just don't want it to,
I don't
That
think
one,
that's,
Not on
that's
tonight.
fine.
You don't want
Neither
the
of
ball
us are on.
dropped.
It's just,
Please
Got
do
a
not
quorum,
get
we got a
it.
majority.
so we got the 3 that we needed for 3,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You got a hand raised over there.
Yes,
I'm Mike Stahl, 5 Lombard Road. The motion that was made, did it include both of those agreements that you're
yes,
signing?
yes,
It
it
did.
did.
you.
Yep.
Okay, so that is good to go.
Okay.
Okay,
Right.
Alright,
Thank
great.
we're
Thank
back.
you for all your work,
Oh, yeah.
Sandra.
No
Thanks,
problem.
Sandra.
Let her get out there.
And you
Let her
too,
get out there.
Alice.
Good night, drive
Bye.
safe.
Okay, we're gonna back up for a minute to the announcements that Katie would have, so.
Okay, sure.
Katie,
All right. Yeah, sorry, I was late. My fault. So a few weekends ago, we had the Jingy Dash on August 27th. If you missed it, it was super fun. Some of the people that are sitting in this room were there. We had 0 people sink, which amazed me, especially seeing that my son sat in his and it folded into, yeah, interestingly enough, his just kind of folded under him, but he still managed to make it around. But yeah, so it was good. Mike came in first, and Teddy, your grandson, right? Correct? Yes, came in second, and then Destiny came in third. But yeah, we had a lot of interesting boat shapes. A lot of kids this year, and the kids did a really good job. Some of them, they made some very interesting boats. But yeah, so super fun. And if you miss it, we'll do it again next year. Coming up this weekend, we have the 25th annual 5K through the library. It starts at 9 a.m. on September 10th. So don't miss that, because that's, again, the 25th anniversary. They've been doing it for a long time.
25 years.
Yeah, yep, that would be the 25th, yes, good job. Then the weekend following that, we have Field Day, September 17th from 9 to 3 at the rec field. Then the weekend after that, we have the townwide yard sale. And then finally we take a little bit of a break, and then we get October, we have Non-Such Night on October 8th. So that's what we got going on coming up, so the next few weekends, there's something going on that you can come and enjoy in town, so,
Thank you very much,
Nice.
and thanks for the meeting.
yeah, it was interesting, it always is.
Okay, moving, we'll go to the new business. Decide on the date for the special town meeting, like to, Philip.
Sure. So because the school budget passed at the special town meeting that was held on August 22nd, we have to revise the town's budget, and so we need it approved at a special town meeting. I have talked with our town clerk, and she has spoken with the school, and the 2 dates that we are throwing out there are October 26th and November 2nd. Both are Wednesday evenings, because we had other things on the Mondays and felt that maybe a Wednesday evening might work better.
And when you spoke to Chris Monroe, did he have any comment on what we talked about and what they're working on and having it available if not?
No, but when I spoke with Ryan today, what he said is we can put a placeholder in for those, for the bylaws.
Okay.
If the planning board has those ready, we'll put the placeholder in, and then if they can get it to us, before we get the documents to KP Law, then, you know, they could still be on the warrant for the meeting.
So that being the case, the early date would probably be the preferred one, wouldn't it?
So, in my opinion, yes, because we also have to hold a classification hearing, and we need an approved budget in order to set a tax rate, which we will be looking to do sometime early mid-November, so that bills can be printed and be out timely the end of December.
Throw it out to the board, any comments or questions?
Well, October is always crazy, but if she's gonna get a tax rate set,
Whatever,
Yeah.
whatever, just say a date, I'm good with that.
So you're looking at having a motion, Sandy, to both set the date and to open the warrant?
Yes.
Okay.
And the
Miss-
warrant close would have closed on the same date for
Yeah, we're
either
gonna
of
close
these,
the
yeah.
warrant on September, at the
October.
September, oh, at the October 3rd, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Select board meeting, we have,
Okay.
we will close the warrant on October 3rd, and that gives us enough time to have KP Law review it, get the warrants printed, the postcards out.
for the October
for the,
26th
Mhm.
date,
Yep,
alright,
we have a little more time if you do the November 2nd town meeting, cause we'll have, the warrant will close the same on both, for both.
alright. Do we need
dates.
the more time, or is it better for
Yeah.
the
I didn't,
tag?
I didn't mean to lock you in on the 26th, I just thought that would be preferable, but if we need more time and we can still achieve
I think
that
we
schedule.
can still, I'm trying to think, when,
I guess the question is, what date would the acting town administrator prefer?
wow.
Yes.
Um,
What makes life easier for you?
Yes, mhm.
The October 26th one would definitely make life easier for me, not so much Tony, but
Mhm.
we'll help her out, so.
Mr. Chairman, will you entertain a motion?
If there's no more discussion, I'd be happy to, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we set the date for the special town meeting for October 26th at 7 PM with the warrant to close on October 3rd.
Second,
Motion made and second, any discussion, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried, thank you.
Okay, and then the next item on, in regards to the town meeting warrant, I spoke with Ryan, who is still working behind the scenes and doing the budget revisions, for us, and he's looking for some guidance on those revisions. There was, approximately $50,000, in revenue that was not used as part of the original budget. This revenue came into play through new growth that the assessors hadn't anticipated. So there is that additional $50,000 there, and he just wants to know if you wanna use that to help cut this deficit that we have. We're looking to find $183,000, so rather than cut budgets, all
Yes.
that amount, we
Yes.
could use that 50,000 and then,
my answer
Along
is
with the
yes.
other recommended cuts he's
right,
suggesting that we
he
discussed.
is recommending cuts to, the DPW, the fire, the police, and the town budgets of $15,000 each. That would come up with another $60,000, so we would be at $110,000. And then because we don't have any other choices, we would take 73,000 from free cash this year. Which goes against everything that Ryan believes in, because free cash can only be used one time. So it might take care of the matter this year, but next year, we're probably not gonna get the same amount of free cash that we did this year and have that to use for budget
Absolutely.
problems.
It's been made clear, and for the record again, next year will be worse than what we're facing right now.
Yes.
So people should realize that, it's not gonna get any better, it's gonna be worse. So,
Question,
Mhm.
so we just hired a new building commissioner,
Yes,
and we ended up hiring him at part-time,
yes.
and we had budgeted a different sum.
Mm-hmm.
What was the sum we budgeted, and what is the amount that we expect to expend for the fiscal year for this position?
So, in the budget was $60,000 for a full-time commissioner. We are anticipating using, over 30 but under 40, so we're thinking there's 20,000 there that could be used, for part of the budget deficit.
Okay, so when the calculation of the 15K each from the different departmental sections,
Yep,
was that where Ryan was thinking of getting 15,000 for
For
the
the
town
town.
side?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so then you'd actually have 5,000 over that.
Yes.
If you cut it by 20.
so yes, we could, yep, so we could do 68 from free cash then instead and not have to use, the less we use the better, so.
Now, if we took 15,000 from each of the other major departments, DPW, fire, police, what is the hardship that we cause them for that kind of cut?
So, I can't speak to DPW because they haven't told me where we could possibly cut from there yet. I spoke with, Chief Kuchar regarding the police department. They have a couple of positions that have not been filled since July, so there is some extra money in their budget for salaries that he's thinking they could take the money from.
Leftover money that you're not expected to use.
Well, just because we
That's
haven't
all.
used it as of yet. You have a full-time position open, correct?
Yes, yeah,
And two other part-time positions
and yeah, 2 other part-time positions.
that have not been filled yet, so that would probably offset that.
cause I asked the question earlier, none of these recommendations that Ryan has made involve cutting any person from a job, none of it. So I just wanna make that clear too,
Yeah.
we're not gonna cut people.
But
Right.
it does preclude us from hiring
Yes.
staff needed on the police department that now we can't
Yes.
pay for.
Well, does it preclude us
No,
from hiring,
because-
it's the wages from July to current that since we
Right,
didn't have
haven't
someone in the
increased.
place.
By the time we have somebody in place, that money will be, it'll be expended, but it'll be there to take this year.
So,
And
Chief,
then-
question, are you all set, Chris?
I am.
A question, so these positions that aren't filled, are you backfilling them with overtime, or how are you doing that, or just not?
So, right now, we have, obviously, we have 24-hour coverage. That won't change. It just means somebody will be working alone when I could have filled it with somebody else.
So you have, so we usually have 2 officers per shift,
Not every shift.
not every shift,
We're missing a 9 AM to 5 PM guy.
yeah.
That hasn't been filled for a while, but, and then the other 2 shifts usually run alone
Really?
from 3 to 5 and, 1 AM to 7 AM, there's one guy.
Really?
That 5 PM to 1 AM, there's 2 guys working. That's, I mean, those are usually our busier hours, but, anything can happen anytime,
Right, of course.
you know.
And who, not to get off track, but who is their backup other than yourself?
Area
Okay.
towns,
Area towns, so they're aware of that,
yes, yes.
obviously. Okay, thank you.
Mutual aid, yes.
Mutual aid.
That's all I'm concerned about, cause I don't, it's like leaving somebody on an island by themselves, you know what I
Right.
mean? Okay.
Ed,
I know that, from being on the finance committee, that the The finance committee has a contingency fund, and, I don't know, it used to be around $25,000, and doesn't always, very seldom gets used. It's only used when somebody exceeds their budget. I didn't know whether that could be an area that, Brian could take a look at, and, you know, our previous,
We try not to touch that, especially to fill in for budget purposes. That's kind of an
people may go over.
emergency fund for emergencies, unforeseen circumstances.
yeah.
Not even so much if people go over, but just, if all of a sudden the roof's leaking and we gotta spend $10,000 to fix it, or the boiler goes, or,
Or the well
Right.
pump at Curtis Rec Field blows up.
Or the clock stops on the school.
Not to mention legal fees.
Those two, yeah.
Thank you, chief.
so Cindy, what is Ryan and yourself looking for here as far as the guidance? So I think you said, if I understand the plan correctly, the base is 183K.
Yeah.
Looks like we're taking, can increase the revenues on the town side, so adjust the revenue side of the budget by 50K to an increase in new growth.
Yep,
65,000 from, the different town budgets, cause you
Yes.
figure 20 for the town
Yep.
side for the building,
Yep.
savings there. So that leaves us with about 68K coming from free cash for the one time.
right, yep.
So-
And that's all he wants is
A
that type of
recommendation, yeah, it's not-
recommendation,
We're not gonna,
so
gonna
that-
vote on that. It's a recommendation for him to
right,
deal with. So-
right. So I will let him know if you guys are all in agreement with that.
I'm good with that.
I'm good.
Peter, Chris, you okay?
Yeah, I just, the only question I have, like, where is the money coming from the highway and the fire? What are they cutting? That's what I'd like to know. Or what they plan on cutting, or, I understand the highway, that could maybe decrease their assault budget or something like that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I don't know if they had some leftover from last year that, so.
right,
It can go
right.
off that, but every year to year. So I'm just curious where the fire department's gonna cut.
I think it's still a work in progress,
It's still a
because
work
none
in
of us
progress.
were expecting to be in this position.
Okay,
yeah,
So I think the departments are still, it's a work in progress.
okay,
trying
so
to
these
figure
are just
out-
recommendations, so
We're
it
gonna
might
get cut, we have to figure out
So somebody
where.
might be able to give a little more and others might a little less.
Right.
So this is just a recommendation.
yes,
Okay,
Yes, yeah, that's
Yeah.
all he's looking for, yes.
thank you. So we're not planning on cutting services?
no,
Okay, thank you.
no.
We'll keep it.
Other than the fact that, he hasn't hired
Right.
the police officer,
Right.
so, that kind of thing, but
So it's
no, he
running
won't be cutting
very lean,
hours
like everybody else.
or anything.
Although, wait a second, we do have to vote, because Brian asked for this, for a one-time use of the
Revenue,
revenue, the long-time, that's one vote, we do have to take on that.
Well, to be clear, this, Heather's napkin math here doesn't include potential kickbacks from the DPW, right? You said Travis hadn't
right,
come back with a number that he could save us yet?
yeah,
So the 68K from free cash could decrease a little
It
more
could.
even.
it could,
Okay.
yeah,
So if, we're willing to make a motion, that one time is 70,000?
50,000.
The 50,000
Revenue,
one-time
yes.
revenue, that's a vote Ryan would like to have.
Mr. Chairman, if you'll entertain a motion.
Yes, please.
I'd like to make a motion that we increase the FY 23 revenue for new growth by $50,000. Or, I'm sorry, let me revise that if I may. I'd like to make a motion that we revise the FY 23 revenue numbers to increase the projected new growth number by $50,000.
Second.
Motion made and second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes, opposed, motion carried. So, tell Ryan we're okay on that one.
will do.
Alright, moving right along, under old business, the second item you can cross out. The reason being, there'll be no action taken as funding is not available. Okay, so, so we'll move on to the, TA report.
Okay, so, I just wanted to let you know a couple of things. It's been a trying few weeks here, but, I have some good news, which we'll take at this point. Route 62 has been chosen by the Mass Municipal Paving Program. This year, this program only covers numbered routes in Massachusetts that are maintained by the individual towns. And Travis learned of this program from talking to his constituents in Barry. And he reached out to them earlier this year and spoke with them, and they agreed to take on our over 5 miles of Route 62. They will mill it and reclaim the entire road from the Barry town line to the Princeton town line.
Nice.
And it will begin in the spring of '23. Travis.
From Barry to Princeton.
All
From
the
Barry
way.
to
Wow.
Princeton.
That's a lot.
So,
That's incredible.
yeah, so Travis is jubilant about this. We sat in on a meeting last week and, you know, yeah, it was
Great.
great. It's not a grant, it's not anything we have to pay back. They just do it for us.
And when would that be done?
In the spring.
In the spring?
They said they would start in the spring
Well,
of
that'll balance
23.
off the fact that what we're gonna be up doing to our center of town in the spring, you know, so.
Yes.
Yeah,
And-
making it better.
Yeah, and like Travis said, all of 68 will be done and all of 62 will be done, so our
Nice.
2 major routes,
That's great.
Should it
will
be, do they think it's gonna be done in one season, or?
yes,
Okay.
yep. Yep, so that was good news.
Sure is.
Also wanted to let you know, our town clerk, Lori Reed, she held early voting hours on, Saturday, August 27th for the primary. She had 6 voters cast their ballots that Saturday. And
Long day for her.
long day, state mandated,
Right.
so she had to be there. She has mailed out approximately 400 ballots for this primary, so the process is working. It just obviously is very taxing on the town clerk's office, but
At least we're not Barnstable where their safe got locked and they couldn't get in.
Yeah, I heard
So,
that.
yes,
Yeah.
at least we're not them.
They had to make up special copies
Yes.
by hand.
Yeah, then they all have to be hand counted and everything else, what a mess.
oh, that's crazy, yeah. And I'm sure they'll be doing the same thing for the election come November, so that will be starting up as well. And as Katie mentioned earlier, we are having a townwide yard sale on
The 24th and 25th.
24th and 25th of September. Our Council on Aging is working diligently. They are going to have a huge yard sale here from what I've been told. They have all kinds of things and they're still taking donations from anybody who wants to give them so that they can sell them and make money they wanna put the proceeds to their deck.
Nice.
And that's it.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you have any public update you can provide us for the TA search?
The applications were due today.
Did we get any? Or did they get any?
I have no knowledge yet. The TA search committee is meeting with MRI on September 21st, and they will start going over those applications, so I'm hopeful. I had talked to Ryan and he had a few people reach out to him, from people who were very interested in Hubbardston and asked some questions about the town itself. So hopefully we have some applicants.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Can you help with something? Yeah, I'm looking for the Concom meeting.
It's next door in the library basement.
No, they weren't gonna be in here tonight?
Nope.
Thank you, sorry.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on. Matters not, yeah, let's see. Yeah, I think that's where we are, yep. Under matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair, we have a couple. So, I'll turn it over to Sandy to fill you all in.
Okay, so first of all, Bowie from Paper Crane Cannabis has reached out and asked to be put on an agenda for a select board meeting in the upcoming weeks because they want to expand the host agreement to include they call it Kiev. It's hash, which I guess is a type of marijuana. They want to include that and also marijuana infused products.
Like vapes and stuff?
Cultivating or not cultivate, making,
Manufacturing,
manufacturing?
yes. So I don't know if
Like
he's gonna
oils,
start
vape
making
oils?
oils, gummies, I don't know. I don't have any more details
Okay.
other than that.
Right now, they
Oil.
just cultivate though, right? Or do they
He's working on
manufacture?
well, I saw him from the select board, he was there to talk about they were making,
He's doing something.
pressing and
Oil. From the
extracting the
planning board.
oils.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cause we are at the select board.
Sorry, the planning board. It's been a really long weekend, you have no idea. But yeah, over in the planning board, he came to like press oils, right?
He came up because, there was this question, well, what the waste product would be with
Okay.
his technique. And it's basically an ice drying process.
Yes, and it's for the oil
For
though.
the, yeah,
Yeah, so I'm
but
assuming
that's what
it's-
he's interested in, I mean, that's his
Yeah.
main product.
Yeah, so, okay,
So anyway, no waste. The
Yeah.
water gets reused for
Yeah.
the fields
so I'm assuming it's something for that.
But we don't know, he
Well, at
hasn't
this
talked
point,
to
he
us.
just wants to
Okay.
talk to us, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yes, he
we
just
don't need
wants
to be making
to-
assumptions
yes,
about anything,
and-
we just,
Yeah,
yeah, let's talk.
and the possibility of changing that host agreement,
Okay.
Yeah, this would involve the changing of that agreement,
yep, to include those
Which,
things.
where are they located?
right
The
across
stove
from the
shop
pizza.
side,
Oh, they're the one on, okay, 68?
next to, yeah, they're both on
Okay.
68, they're the one
He's on the
with the,
right.
with the
On the
black
right.
tarp,
Okay,
next
yeah.
to AAA
Where's the other
Auto.
one located?
The other one's
Across the
the,
street.
across the street after the bus company, then you have
Oh,
the
the dirt
blue,
road?
yeah,
Oh,
the blue
okay.
house and then the dirt road.
Okay, roger
Dirt
that.
road goes.
Thank you.
One question is, have you been paid any of the host agreement fees yet?
I was about to make that point.
Yes.
No.
To make the board aware, okay, cause when I was
It'd really
talking to
be
Sandy
helpful.
earlier about this, they owe us for taxes, number one, we haven't seen them. And we still haven't gotten any returns yet on this original stuff,
You mean back taxes or current?
current,
So they're not current?
and we haven't
No.
seen anything from their first supposed crop. Point I'm trying to make is as we are having this kind of a discussion, my feeling is before we give them more, I think we should be getting something,
I hear you.
okay? Even if it's just the taxes,
Yeah,
but we
do
should
they
be getting
just
something
owe
before we give
Is
them more.
past taxes or do they owe more than that?
They owe FY 22 taxes, which were due, the last one was due on May 1st, so we're now in FY 23, so
Awesome.
about $600.
Plus we haven't seen
For the,
mine.
for the
Paper
meeting
cut.
that he comes to, can we get a, a brief note about what he owes us for
Mhm.
taxes and
Yeah,
what he owes us from the host agreement?
sure,
So we have that in front of
Yeah.
us while he's sitting across the table from
Good
us.
idea.
yeah, I can
Excellent.
do that,
Thank you.
yeah.
Any other comments from the board regarding to that, so,
Just, I have one
go.
question. Now, is our host agreement based off of their, gross sales of their product?
Their sales.
I believe it's,
Yes.
Gross?
I don't know if it's
Not
gross
sure.
or
Or
net,
net.
but,
Sales.
yeah, it is the
Okay.
sales.
Okay. Thank you.
Ed,
Has the odor issue been addressed by the company?
we've addressed it here and it was passed, and he was here at the time, and so it has been addressed. It's a,
Well, when you say addressed, we talked about it.
I mean, odor, as far as who senses it, smells it, as opposed to who doesn't, you can't measure that. So there's going to be some, but as far as, the way he put it to us at the last meeting, as I recall, and please help me on this, correct me, there's a certain point in their growth period where it's stronger than other times. And the period where the people were complaining about it, and they had a right to, was that period of growth.
It's right
So
before
that's-
harvest.
So that's where we're at on that. There's nothing specifically that can be done. We're not gonna tell them to go away. They have every right to be there legally, so.
I think we had discussed that, you know, the jurisdiction of complaints for that ultimately go before the planning board, and I think upon 3 complaints for odor, other
It goes
things,
back
it's
to
taken
them.
up under their agreement in the bylaw. Does that sound right, Alice?
Sounds right. Also, we did have an agreement that they plant low odor plants,
Mhm.
which he agreed to do, and I'm sure he did. So, same with the other field.
Mm-hmm.
It makes a big difference.
They're
Imagine
not
if they-
violating any law or
far
anything,
as
they
we
are
know.
within their right, and they are, everything's legal as far as their agreement with it, other than the fact we're not getting any
But
money
we
from
do,
it. But-
with the amendment we pass, the crop will be further set back from boundaries.
Mhm.
Was the only provision the AG threw out didn't relate to that, so that may be some help in the future.
Mhm.
Mm.
Okay. Anything else? Chris, Peter, Heather? Okay, then we will, move on. Oh, well, in regards to that, what was there a time factor? He wanted to be here somewhat
He wanted to be.
soon, but our next meeting, we
Is in
want to
2
do
weeks.
largely budget. So it's a question of
He
when
wanted to
we
be at
wanna.
the next meeting, which would be September 19th. I had said October 3rd. He said that might, I don't wanna say interfere, but delay his timeline as far as what he was planning, so, if you wanna move it up, I will. We'll just have a lot on our agenda then.
Cause on the 19th, we were kind of focusing on the budget.
But I think the budget, if we just articulated most of it now, I don't
Mhm.
think there's a lot
There may not be,
for the budget.
I think, one thing we do need to do is just go through the line items that we are gonna have to change,
Mhm.
Because I think those should be transparent when we go to town meeting.
Yep.
Which, line items exactly we're changing.
I think they should be read. I'm serious,
Okay.
I think they should be read at the town meeting, just, we're cutting this, we're cutting that, as opposed to just giving them a number.
No, it should be read,
I think it definitely should be read,
so they know what's getting hurt.
and I'll read it if anybody.
So I mean, I'm okay with putting it on for the next meeting, the Bowie.
That okay with the board then?
chat.
I'm good.
Okay,
Yes,
Okay?
all right,
Tell them to
Invite
bring a
them to our
checkbook.
next meeting,
all
sure.
right,
Sorry.
And,
Just saying, he owes taxes, you know?
Why don't you like put them first?
Okay,
Does the agreement have a certain date by, when that money is paid to the town? Or is
so
it when
it's supposed to be after their crop has been sold.
Annually, every year?
Yeah. And so they just harvested a crop, so
Yeah.
then
Is
what
this
comes
their-
into
this-
play is, has it been sold?
So that's their first crop?
This is the first,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
And they have 2 crops going?
Yeah, well, they're supposed to harvest again late October from what
Yeah.
I understand, yes.
Alright,
Well, they were harvesting in July, cause that's when all that stink was, and that's what he said, the stink was them harvesting.
Yeah, and they were gonna do a second crop, so,
I'm not saying the second crop, but I'm just saying it's the first crop.
right, I don't know where it's at.
Exactly.
Does it have to, I don't
From the
know
first-
the
I
process
don't know
that
either.
good, if it has to dry or whatever before, I don't know.
I know, but I'm just saying it's September, so.
Okay, the only thing with putting it first on the next agenda, the next meeting, we have the Quabbin Regional School District, bringing some candidates to the board to be approved to be on the school committee.
Oh,
And
okay,
so we
fine.
were gonna put that first.
Sure, yeah.
But we can put this
I
after
meant
that.
that point being so that they can get out of there and we can just discuss the budget.
Okay, yeah,
As
no,
opposed to having them wait while we go through the budget.
Okay.
Okay,
okay,
that's fine with me. All right, moving on, then, anybody, public, press questions,
I
anyone?
have a matter not reasonably anticipated by the
Oh,
chair.
okay, go ahead.
The clock on the school, Sandy,
Yeah,
doesn't work, hasn't been working for a while.
okay,
Can you do the town a favor and see if you can figure out why it's not working and what it might take to get it working?
I can check into that.
Thank you very much.
What if the
Okay.
answer's money in a bucket truck?
Well, I can get a bucket truck.
Okay.
I think it's that motor. It's not worth it, the $30
Thank you,
motor.
that's all I had.
Okay? Any
The-
public questions or response? Okay,
We
seeing
Were we-
none?
going to do the traffic control thing too, under not anticipated?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I missed that, yeah, please,
Okay.
yep,
Sure.
thank you.
So I'm gonna ask Chief Kuchar to speak of this.
Sorry, Ryan,
It's okay, no problem.
my bad.
He's gonna bring before you a policy that he would like the board to approve regarding detail officers and changing the name pretty much, and he can give you all the details.
Okay, hello. So this is a civilian traffic control unit. I spoke to all the chiefs in the area, they're all doing this as well. Basically, because we're short-staffed, and a lot of other places are, and everybody's doing details at the same time, we just can't get anybody. So, construction still has to be done, so we have to let it, pretty much, it's happening, and we have people that aren't, you know, on scene there to direct traffic. I think there was some incidents on New Westminster Road when they were doing that people drove into the ceiling that they were doing. So, you know, this costs the town nothing. It's just added staff that I can use to do traffic. They don't carry firearms. They have to go to a traffic direction class that they have now. And it's just simply to supplement directing traffic. It's, in the policy, it shows they're not sworn. It's just they
What-
are
what
part
are
of the department, but they're not sworn, they're not paid, they're only paid through when they do the detail.
Basically civilian flag people,
Flag,
right?
right?
It's
Yeah, flag.
essentially a fancy name for flaggers.
Yeah,
But, it'll give me the opportunity to, you know, take some people back that we had to let go because of the post standards. And it will help us out a lot, so.
Is there any conflicts with our collective bargaining agreement?
Nope, they will get the last crack at the details, so it'll go through our officers first, our part-timers, our full-timers, and then they'll get, the opportunity to take it if they want. And they'll only be able to work in town, not out of town.
Okay.
So it helps us, it doesn't really help anybody else, but that's what everybody else is doing. So they have, you know, other departments have 3, 4, 5, 6 guys that are doing this, and then, but it helps them. They get to fill their details, and we can't do that right now,
so what do you need from us, if anything?
And how does the pay work?
So they just get paid through, the same way our guys do details, the company pays us, we pay the officer or the traffic.
Hourly, are there any guaranteed hours?
Yes, it's, so it's hourly, it would fall under, the collective bargaining agreement, which is $50 an hour, 4-hour minimum, 8 hours after 4.
Okay.
Is that a state?
That's our union
Hours.
contract that
Okay.
the town
And
has.
you're
with
getting the
us.
same rate as a police officer would
So
get?
they're getting the same rate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you can't, if you have an electric company, you can't say, hey, you're gonna get a break today because you have a flagger as opposed to one of our
Yeah, it's
officers.
prevailing wage stuff, they
Yeah.
have to,
Yeah.
they have to be paid the same, so,
Mhm.
Do they get paid $50 an hour?
that's what they,
Are you signing up, Pete?
Can I
I'm
sign
gonna.
up?
Katie wants to know.
I got the flag.
Can I? No, it's conflict of interest.
it's probably a conflict of interest
Yeah,
for me,
probably.
Peter.
Do you have folks that have
I
shown
already
interest
have
in this?
people that have asked me
Excellent.
about this, so, like I said, I know it's been done in other towns and it's working out for them, so.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's gotta do it, if they can't
Well,
go
it's-
without.
The town also makes money off of this because we charge a administrative fee for each detail. We're not getting that if we don't have anybody there.
Correct.
So we actually get that fee, it helps a little bit.
Yes.
But to your point, they can only work in our town.
In our town, right, for our jobs, so.
So right now, we're having details that all of our current officers are passing on, cause they're not
They
available,
either-
not able.
Right, they're either not available because I have guys doing doubles and all this other stuff because we're short, and then they can't take a detail, or they've worked too much and they don't want the detail, they wanna go home and spend time with their families.
Sure.
So, this will help out a lot.
What do you need from us? Is this anything we need to, or is it, you're just
Um,
informing us? Because
so-
it's-
Appointments, if somebody applies to do it, obviously I would submit an appointment through town administrator, and, you know, you guys would get it and see it. There would be no wage form, I would just do it standard way I do it now, through a letter saying, I recommend that we appoint this person to the civilian traffic control unit.
So there's nothing you need us for tonight in terms of that?
No, just, making
Do
you
they
aware
have
of the
to-
policy,
Which,
Do they have to approve the policy where?
do you- yeah, that's, so I don't have a question, maybe that's my question, you need to approve the policy after I put it out.
Probably doesn't hurt to do it.
I was
Yeah.
just
Well,
thinking.
it's gonna involve our citizens, basic, or will it just be our citizens?
You don't have to be a town resident.
You don't have to be a
They
town
have to
resident
work
to
in
do
this
it.
town as far as
They'll be
the
working in the
agreement, but
town,
it could be anybody,
they'll be part of the police
applying for the
department,
job,
so I
okay.
think it's important that I have your input,
Yeah,
that this
okay.
is something
So they
we
can
wanna
work
do.
for 2 or 3 different towns, but they just can't do a detail.
Yeah, they could be doing the civilian traffic unit in Westminster.
Right.
And here, and then they could do both towns,
Right.
but, most towns aren't letting them go out of town, that's why I think
yeah.
we'll have some interest in
Sure.
this,
Yeah.
and we'll help out a lot.
Mhm.
What's the hiring process for that?
So, I could put out a post that we're looking for civilian traffic control unit people. They would apply, I would do an interview with them, and just, they would have to go through a Cory check, like everybody else.
And
There's
references?
standards in here they have to meet,
Okay.
physical standards, they gotta get a physical from their doctor, a note that says they're physically fit. And there's a few other standards in there that are just, they're simple, but they're,
Cory,
there
you know,
any
helpful.
training?
Cory check and everything, yeah.
there is a training, however, it would be up to me whether or not they had to go through that. If it was a former police officer, they wouldn't need to go through that, but
Right.
if it was just somebody that had barely any training
Sure.
or whatever, I'd make sure they get the training they need, so, you know, reduce some liability on us.
And
So
according to the information I have, it'd be like a 1-year appointment,
Yep, there'd be 1-year appointments.
limited, so if it came up again, they
Yeah,
have to
or if they
reapply.
violate, obviously if they violate policy, we have options
that
there
too,
as
but I
well,
mean-
but,
After a year, they have to reapply again, assuming
correct.
there was work, okay?
Yep.
So
I
let's,
I was shocked, because it also stated, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they're responsible for their own uniform,
All costs are, they're responsible
they're
for all costs.
responsible, so there is no cost to the town for that either.
do they become a professional flagger and this is what they do for 10 different
Provide
towns?
their own flag, yeah, probably.
Probably not a bad gig.
And make
Got my
some
own flag
really
and
good
my own
money
They make
doing it.
decent money doing it.
Reflective vest.
So keep that in mind for a side job.
Alright.
So I guess a couple questions. So number one, so we're just seeing this, I don't think we got this policy ahead of time.
No,
right?
Ryan
We're
just
seeing
gave it to us
tonight.
today.
I got it.
Yeah, I sent it to.
Is it an
Tony.
administrative burden if we held off on this for 2 weeks?
No.
Could we hold off just to give us all, it looks like
Sure.
it's a pretty lengthy document, so
It
we
is.
can all just review. And then, was there a primary location from which we swiped this one from?
This
didn't-
was on the
Sandy gave it
Mass
to me
Chiefs
this morning,
site, but
so-
Okay,
I took it from Ashburnham, so.
okay.
Can we get a copy of that somehow?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
they-
just send it,
Yep.
email us?
With
or-
some language
I
changes.
can email it to all of
Or
you.
you can make copies of the one you gave me.
Or I can make copies, I have one here
Yeah.
too.
You could, if it's easy, just email, if you could just email me.
Sure.
I don't need to waste paper.
Put it in the drive.
Okay,
Put it-
I'll
Yeah.
put it in the drive.
Yeah, that
I'll
would
save
work.
a trade.
Okay,
There you go.
Okay,
all right.
That's all I have for questions.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks.
Thanks, chief.
thank you.
All right, if there are no public questions, et cetera, before we take a motion to adjourn to move into executive session, does the zoning board have to call their meeting to order before we adjourn from the open one, or?
No,
So
but before
afterwards,
we-
okay, so then I will accept the meeting to adjourn.
Okay, so how about I make a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A33, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. The board will discuss Vertex Towers LLC's notice of constructed approval filed with respect to the application to the ZBA for variance for a driveway to access a cell tower proposed for 14 West Main Street and deliberate filing an appeal, inviting into executive session along with the board and the acting town administrator, the ZBA board, as well as Alice Livdell from the planning board and Carolyn Manning from KP Law, in addition to going into executive session for Mass General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 21A, 1B, to consider the discipline or dismissal of or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, individual, Hubbardston Police Department and Town Administrator, again inviting into executive session the Select Board, the Town Administrator, and Chief Kuchar, and to, not to return to open session and to adjourn from executive session.
Thank you very much for that.
I second.
Motion is made and second, I won't have her reread it that
No.
time.
No.
So, it's a voice vote, so Peter,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Heather,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Jeff, yes. We're now adjourned and we will be moving into executive session, so anyone who is not